Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is Thursday morning. It is 10 a.m. You see Drew, you see myself, and you know what that means. That is another episode of Firmly AEW. Drew, how we doing today?
I did not sleep very well, so I feel like crap this morning.
Did not sleep well? That's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good, bro.
Back and my neck are all like,
the worst. The worst.
And I think I might have, in the gym yesterday, maybe a move a little wrong. So
that's how a lot of people get hurt, is they one little tweak here, one little tweak there, doing something wrong, especially if it's weights related or something like that. It's trouble. We got Sandy from Germany saying hi, saying he doesn't watch AEW, but he at least wanted to come in and say hello. We appreciate that very much. We got
Scott. You should start watching AEW because it's getting good.
Yeah, AEW is getting pretty good. AEW had a good week. They had a good week here. Scott coming in saying good morning. Welcome everybody in as everybody is coming on in. We're going to talk some AEW. We have
how are you doing, JPJ?
You know, besides crippling depression and, trying to get through every day, I think I'm all right for the most part. No, we're doing good. We're doing good. Big day for me here. Obviously, I get to talk some WrestleDream and Dynamite with you to start the day. Then tonight on Beards, we have Kristen Ashley and Mr. Warren Hayes joining us, as Pluggo and I are going to be diving into the women's top 250, the PWI top 250, which AEW's own Toni Storm took the #1 spot for the year as the top women's professional wrestler, according to Pro Wrestling Illustrated in their top 250. So
congratulations to her.
Yep. I know she hasn't been around since All In, but in my opinion, there was no debate that Toni Storm was doing the best work on the female side of things all year in any company, with that character, her matches, the story they did with Mariah May. I thought it was pretty fitting that she was #1 for sure. I could have made an argument for Rhea Ripley. I think she ended up being 3. I think Rhea Ripley ended up being #3. But yeah, so Toni Storm took home the #1 spot. AEW's own. We've talked about her a lot this year, Drew. So yeah, very deserving. But we'll be talking about that later on tonight with some friends on Between Two Beards. But all in all, I'm doing good, Drew. I thought WrestleDream was excellent this weekend. One of the top shows of the year. It was very, very good. And then I thought they followed it up with a pretty solid Dynamite. Last night, I thought Dynamite was really good too. There are things I still think need to improve on the AEW side, but they are hitting. It feels like they're getting. I feel like we feel this way, and we talk about this every time there's a pay-per-view, because they just don't miss with their pay-per-views. Like they could have. There's been times we've been on here in the last year plus that we've been doing Firmly AEW, and we've openly said, "Oh, the build to this pay-per-view has been pretty lackluster. There hasn't been a ton of stuff, and it feels a little And then the pay-per-view happens, and we're talking the next week, and we're like, "That's one of the best shows that AEW has ever done." And I feel like that's like kind of a routine, but it does feel like they're hitting one of their strides here, where they're coming off a hot pay-per-view. It seems like they're starting to get back a fully healthy roster, which will impact things and make things even better. They got some momentum. So let's see how they go. But before we dive into WrestleDream, all in all, what was your overriding thoughts of WrestleDream as a whole before we start kind of skimming through the matches before we get to Dynamite?
It probably is recency bias because recency bias just plays a role in pretty much
100%. It has to. It has to.
But I think that was the best AEW show this year, honestly.
Yep. I
Was
mean, it's yeah. I
top
mean, I would
volume,
say what
no
was the one in
complaint.
yeah, what was the one in February? Revolution was pretty good. I would say that in Revolution, you can make an argument, but yeah, I mean, it is recency bias, but I would agree with you. I think there was I'm pretty sure it was right up there. If not, Revolution might have been a bit better, but it's right up there. I heard some people saying this was, a top 5 pay-per-view that AEW has ever done. That's what I was hearing. Some
I could
say.
I could, maybe I would have to look at it extensively, but I could maybe argue that point as well.
Yeah.
It
It
was
was
nothing I did not like anything on the show.
yeah. I thought everything was good. I thought there wasn't a bad match. A couple, well, not really a couple, but
Some matches became sleeper matches.
they
Like,
did.
holy shit.
Yeah, it was really, really
This was like, whoa, this I didn't expect this to be as good as I thought it was,
yeah,
as it
100%.
ended up being. So
100%. And we're going to dive right in. But before we do, if you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button for us. Click that bell for notifications. You'll get a notification anytime here at Love Wrestling. We're going live. We have Boris, who's been doing the AEW Dynamite watch alongs on Wednesday nights. Those have been fun. You see me and Drew
I
every
might pop in
Tuesday.
one of those one
Yeah,
of these
you
days.
should. I wasn't able to pop in last night, but a week ago, last week, I was able to hop on and be there for a good chunk of it. It's a fun time. Boris is always a good egg. Drew and I are here every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. We got Between Two Beards. We got the brunch gimmick. We got Quizplex at the end of the month. We have the LPW clandestine shows on the last Thursday of the month. We have the LPW shows the last Friday of the month. You'll get notifications of any matches, any things, notifications, all that stuff. And we got a lot of cool stuff happening here at Love Wrestling. We have since the beginning, but we're just getting bigger and bigger. So click that bell, give the thumbs up, and go check out our friends at NordVPN as well. I was able to watch WrestleDream from a different country on my day trip that I took last week to Lithuania. And I don't know if you knew this, Drew, but the pay-per-views in Lithuania, only $20. Only $20. It must be the exchange rate or something. I was only there for a day trip. Like I came home, overnight, took the red eye.
How was the weather?
Back. The weather was okay. It was, a little chilly, but where I was staying, it was fine. But yeah, if you go check out our friends at NordVPN, you might be able to travel really easy and get some $50 pay-per-views for a little bit cheaper for our wrestling fans and in the chat. You'll also be able to get your home Wi-Fi settings, your home Wi-Fi security fast and easy and the most safest of any VPN money can buy. So go check out our friends NordVPN. Tell them Love Wrestling sent you. Those are our good buddies. You cannot find a better VPN on the market than our friends at NordVPN. All right, Drew. WrestleZone, Jesus Christ. WrestleDream, my God. It took place. Where was it? Seattle,
Tacoma, Washington.
Tacoma Dome. The Tacoma Dome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rock and roll. All right. There were 3, actually did it end up being 4 matches on the pre-show? Yeah. There were 4 matches on the pre-show. We'll just kind of skim through those. But Brian Cage did defeat Atlantis Jr. This was actually the only match I watched in full on the pre-show. This was a pretty good match here. But Brian Cage defeated Atlantis Jr. To become the new Ring of Honor TV champion. That is how this show started on the pre-show. We also had Anna Jay defeat Harley Cameron in a pre-show match. Then we had MXM Collection going against the Acclaimed. And MXM had said last week on Dynamite that they were bringing a third person, or it might have been on Rampage or Collision. But last week they said they were bringing a third person that was very familiar with the Acclaimed or Daddy Ass. And we saw, this was actually the best part, because I'm an old head, of the pre-show. The third person that MXM brought was Rico from back in the day. Billy and Chuck, badass. Rico, they had come on, makes sense. And he looked great. That dude was like 65 or something like that. And he looked great. He looked in shape. He was taking bumps. It was good stuff. Good to see Rico. A lot of fun there. But the Acclaimed do hit the mic drop, and they do beat MXM. Once I saw this was on the pre-show, Drew, I was like, Acclaimed's definitely winning. But I know when we discussed it last week, I was like, I feel like MXM, the win would matter more to them. Because what the hell is the Acclaim win in this match? What does that do for them? Nothing. But it was on a pre-show. It's kind of a nothing match. I think the match was more for the Rico side of things than it was to like have a good competitive match.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
You could see that it wasn't there to be a competitive match. It was there to pop everybody.
Yeah.
So, and it did
100%.
its job.
It did. It popped me. I saw Rico. I was like, holy crap, Rico, man. Look at that guy. And then we had an 8-man tag. It was the Premier Athlete brand, Ari Daivari, Tony Nese, teaming up with the Beaver Boys, Alex Reynolds and John Silver. And they went up against Kyle O'Reilly and Orange Cassidy, part of the conglomeration. And the Outrunners, Truth Magnum, Turbo Floyd. This was a fun 8-man, as you would expect, back and forth nonsense. But the Outrunners and the conglomeration win as the Outrunners got the pinfall victory on Ari Daivari. So good little showcase of the tag teams that weren't on the main card. I thought it was a good spot, even though it's the pre-show, to get the Outrunners on a pay-per-view, because they are definitely hot and they are over, and their popularity is growing by the week, it seems. Now, Tony, we're going to talk about them because they did make an appearance on Dynamite, so I want to talk about them in a minute because I love the Outrunners, but Ophelia, I am scared of what you just said. So I love them too. They got a good thing with them. You can do this good thing you're doing with them for like 3 or 4 more months. I do not need a Young Bucks Outrunners tag title match in 2 weeks. I do not need that. Let them build and get bigger and bigger and let it happen when it's supposed to naturally happen. Because I think we are falling into a thing now where they are over for a reason because they're incredible. They're an old school gimmick. They make me laugh. They can actually wrestle. They are very good. And they are a star tag team in the making for AEW big time. I do not want AEW to do the thing where they go, oh, God, this team is really getting big pops and they're over. Let's just throw them at the Young Bucks. No. Wait for it.
Yeah.
Build it up and let those guys win the belts when we're ready for them to win the belts in 3 or 4 months.
Totally agree.
Like, I'm just afraid that 1 week on Dynamite or Collision in the next month, we're going to get an Outrunners eliminator match against the Bucks. And I'm going to be like, stop it. Not right now. Not right now. Just let them do it.
Truthfully, since we're mentioning it, one of the only, I think, down moments of Dynamite was FTR and the Outrunners.
Yeah.
That was, and it's not because I don't like them. I love, and what are they call FT Runners, I think.
Something like that. The FT Runners. It's hilarious.
I don't hate either team. I just don't need that right now. It's not necessary. Like that can be for. I feel like they need to kind of split, not a brand split per se, but more of like keep the Outrunner-ish type stuff to Collision right now, and have Dynamite be the, as we'll be talking about very extensively, the Blackpool Combat Club show.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. All right, we then get to the main card of WrestleDream, and boy, oh boy, did it start off hot, Drew, as Hangman Adam Page and Switchblade Jay White had, I'm telling you, this match was awesome. Real good. Like both these guys, you know how I feel about Hangman. There's no debate. He's my GOAT. He's my top guy right now in the business. Hangman doesn't miss, man. Now, Jay White, obviously one of the better wrestlers in the world. We were talking about how neither one of these guys we felt like could take a loss last week. However, I did think that AEW did the right thing here.
I agree.
And they had Switchblade Jay White get a giant victory to start this show over Hangman. And at the end of the day, that loss isn't going to hurt Hangman. He's still Hangman Adam Page. Like, it's not going to hurt him, but that win did a tremendous amount for Switchblade Jay White. The ending sequence with the buckshot being reversed into the Blade Runner was just as smooth looking a revert. It just looked like they tried it like they practiced and nailed it 1,000 times. That's how
I
smooth
was
that looked. Incredible.
legitimately shocked
Yeah.
that they just went with that clean victory like that.
Oh,
It was just, I just remember I was like, did that just happen?
yeah.
Because
These two.
I didn't think that as much as Jay White is a phenomenal wrestler and
Mhm.
it really wins a bulk of his matches. He does.
Yeah.
I I didn't see them pivoting here and just making Hangman a loser right after the match with Swerve.
Yeah.
So I was like, whoa. And you know what? Like you, I agree. I didn't hate it at all. I think it was
it was the right thing to do. You had him
definitely,
on
yeah.
you had him on Dynamite last week talking about how he wants to go for the World Heavyweight Championship.
hmm
And like gold is, he's refocused. He wants gold. He wants all this stuff. I believe him when he says that because he's Jay White. He's a former IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Scott, 100%. It was just as clean as you could see for a reversal into a pin. It was just wonderful.
And they had Jay scouting it out too because he had tried the buckshot, I think, one other time or two other times,
Mhm.
and he knew how to maneuver around it. And then that last sequence was just beautiful.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah. So these two really, really started off the show hot. It was physical. It was violent. It was back and forth at one time. Was it Hangman that spit on what's with the spit in AEW?
Yeah.
What's with the spit?
It was
Jay
I
White
think it
spit
was
on Hangman.
Jay.
That shit looked like it didn't look like spit, Drew. It looked like it was a piece of paper.
It
That was disgusting.
looked like something else, but I'm not going to say it.
Enough with the spit. Enough with the spit, Scott. Come on, enough. It's gross.
It wasn't even a spit. That was a loogie.
Oh,
that was like a
disgusting.
legitimate.
What are we doing?
That's the PG version of what I thought it
Come
was.
on.
But anyway,
the history of wrestling spits. It's a nice, easy little. So it's not really a spit, but AEW the last couple months been hawking loogies on. It's disgusting. Oh. Anyway, it's gross. I don't need to see that shit. I don't need to see that shit. I don't mind blood. I don't mind thumbtacks. I don't mind eyes getting ripped out, things getting lit on fire. Hawking loogies on each other. It's where I draw the line. It's disgusting. Have some friggin' decorum. Anyway, we move on. I'll tell you what, Drew. You know what match took me by surprise? Not in the fact that it was a good match, but that it was a lot better than it was. It was one of my favorite matches of the night. Willow Nightingale and Mariah May for the AEW Women's World Championship. Easily the best match of Mariah May's title reign. No question.
Absolutely.
Both these women looked, I know I'm going to use the word awesome a lot, but both these women looked awesome in this match. Incredible. And I'm going to tell you, Mariah May wins. She wins with the Storm Zero, but it was a struggle for Mariah May.
Mm-hmm.
Willow gave her everything. And I said it right after it happened. When Willow finally does win that AEW Women's Championship, it is going to be a special moment when that happens, because I think that she connects with the audience more than any other person in AEW, period. End of story. I feel like she has that connection with the audience where people want to just root for her all the time. They want her to win. They want her to succeed. It's almost like how WWE fans, I feel like, treat Sami Zayn. So we just love you. We just love you. We want you to win. We want you to win all the belts. We love you. We love your character. Don't ever change.
That's a good comparison.
It's the way I feel that fans treat him and view him, and I am one of these people. I feel the same exact way about Willow. I want Willow to succeed at all times. I love her. I love her smile. I love her character. I love everything she brings. But Mariah May is just on a path of destruction right now. And this match ruled, Drew. This match was awesome. Exceeded my expectations a lot.
Mm-hmm. A number of matches on this card did that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Exceeded expectations.
Yeah. I thought this was really, really super good. I want to see more of Mariah May and Willow Nightingale. I would love them to run this back at some point. But obviously we know there are probably greater plans at hand with Mariah May and things like that. But what a perfect opponent. What a perfect opponent in Willow. Holy moly. Got the best out of Mariah May that we've seen in a while. It was really, really good stuff. And then we continued along to more really, really good stuff because we then had our TNT championship match and Katsuyori Shibata. Yes, we can talk about that if you want to talk about this before we move on. Mariah May did deserve better at the scrum.
She actually addressed it on Dynamite last night.
She did. She did.
Deservedly so, because I don't know who was representing which journalist, if we want to call all of them that, groups in that presser, but what the fuck, people?
How do you not have anything? Like, here's my thing. All right. And listen, I am small, Drew, small potatoes. There are way more talented people in the wrestling journalism game than me. I don't even consider myself a journalist, but there are way more talented, higher up on the totem pole people in the wrestling media landscape. But AEW, at least from what I know and from the love wrestling side of things, AEW is a tough egg to crack. They are tough when it comes to getting access, trying to get to these press conferences. It is much easier to deal with WWE when it comes to things like that than it is AEW. Now, I have never been to an AEW press conference or a scrum or whatever they do, but I know it's very restricted, and I know that they're very stringent when it comes to allowing access or whatever. Your company, do whatever you want. But I know for a fact, and I think I posted something about it. I was like, maybe this will have AEW look at the way they do things, because there should be more people in that room. There should be different people in that room. I know plenty of people that would have died to have been in that room at WrestleDream. And if they were in that room, they surely would have had questions for the fucking AEW Women's World Champion. I'm pretty sure they would have had questions for Mariah May. I would have been able to come up with a handful of questions for your women's champion. I don't know who's in that room, and I might have people that I know and that are friends in that room, and this is nothing personal, but shame on you people. Shame on you people. I don't care if you weren't expecting her, you didn't expect her to be there, whatever. You can't you can't think of a question in 30 seconds to ask this woman? Are you shitting me? You can't think of anything. You just sit there in silence. What are you there for? You're filling seats of people that would actually be there wanting, not just trying to do a job, wanting to do a job and ask people questions. And you're sitting there with your thumb up your asses. You don't belong in the room. You don't belong in the room. That's kind of where I'm going to leave it. So it's embarrassing.
Thankfully, the guy who asked about Taylor Swift earlier this year wasn't there. So.
Yeah. Well, that guy's a clown for a whole nother bag of reasons. But it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And as someone who's kind of gotten a taste of it a little bit, it's embarrassing, because if I was given the opportunity, I would go every time and I would have questions for every single fucking person you put in front of me, because that's your fucking job when you're in the room.
This legitimately would have been my question if I was there. Mariah, where does this title defense with Willow rank on how, in your mind, on all your title defenses so far?
Easy peasy. Would that take you 3 seconds to think of? How is that? You don't even have a standard. There should be standard questions you have in your brain that you can ask any wrestler that they put in front of you.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 standard. You could ask that to every wrestler that sat down. Every wrestler. It doesn't matter if it was, I wasn't expecting to talk to Mariah May, so I don't have a question for Mariah. You should have a handful of questions that you can just standardly ask anybody they put in front of you. And then when they put somebody in front of you, Ophelia, another one.
That's a great.
And when they put somebody in front of you, and it's, they put Samoa Joe in front of me. Okay, how do I?
Who she also mentioned on Dynamite, by the way.
Yeah, it's just like, dude, it's just embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. There you go. Yeah, exactly. Just like Ophelia. Yeah, you could have had Mina questions like Sunday Center and Ophelia are saying. The question you came up with, you could have asked her about Willow Nightingale. Hey, Willow Nightingale gave you a really, really strong bout tonight. How did she stack up compared to the other people you've defended your title against so far? Or where would you rank her? How do you feel about your opponent tonight? It was a hard fought battle, blah, blah, blah. And then she'll answer the question. And in her answer, if she's in character, she's probably going to create 2 or 3 more questions for you to ask if you want to ask. Sitting there like a bum. Scott, I do feel like on AEW side of things, they could be better about that. Because I feel like some people get to that table and they're in character and kayfabe is alive. And then some people get to that table and they're not in character and they're just being themselves. So it's either, you have to kind of establish what kind of scrum this is going to be. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we already bragged on that guy, but like, I feel like you need to establish a little bit more from AEW side of things of like, hey, these wrestlers are in character, continuing stories back here when we do this scrum, or, hey, no, this is like a real.
I don't necessarily mind that. It's
I don't
not,
either, but it's,
like, 'cause then
it could be
you
hard.
know what you're getting when the person sits down. It's like, okay, so I mean, I think a person who is very, very good at weaving between that is MJF.
Yeah.
Actually. MJF comes out and he is in character, but he is that guy
Yeah.
also. So if Mariah wants to tweak it a bit to where it's like her, but also in character,
Mm.
like MJF, I don't think anybody would have a problem with that.
Yeah. I agree. And it's just like from kind of the people. Now, nobody asked any questions, which is ridiculous. But like from the people, again, I've only experienced a couple of these, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I am a consummate professional. But I know that like if I knew, we'll just throw a name out there. If they were like, hey, Orange Cassidy is coming to sit down here, and I knew that he was going to be in character, the questions that I would ask Orange Cassidy would be different than if I knew that Orange Cassidy, the guy, was going to be, you know what I mean? So I can understand from like the other side of it, of if you're trying to create questions or you want to ask people questions and you don't know. Now, again, you can just not ask the first question and kind of see how it goes. And then, oh, all right, they're in character. Cool. There are ways to like not put yourself in a hole, but I could see from like a person who's asking questions, a media member side of things, a journalist side of things. If you have a list of questions for Toni Storm or Mariah May, and you don't know if you're getting real Mariah May or character Mariah May, your questions could change. But again, the card
Shouldn't prevent you from asking a question.
That's my thing. Like, regardless of that, that's might be between, because like, you knew the WrestleDream card when you got to the show. So you should have an idea that there's a chance that any one of these wrestlers are going to be at that scrum because they are wrestling on the pay-per-view that the scrum is after. So you should be a little prepared and have at least 1 or 2 questions for everybody. So again,
and also
everybody needs to be better. Everybody needs to be better there.
Usually it's the winners of matches that are at the presser.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So,
and Tony wasn't at this one either, which a lot of people said that the vibe felt a little bit different because Tony wasn't there because he was going to the hospital with Danielson, they said, after the main event. I don't know if that changed things or that, I don't know, because usually Tony is there to kind of fill a lot of dead space. Sinner, this is a good point. He says, I think the overall issue is people want to post on Twitter about supporting women's wrestling, but when it actually comes to promoting women's wrestling or boasting the signal of women's wrestling, it's mute. There is not a lot there. I do think a lot of it is pomp and circumstance. But yeah, it was just, listen, hopefully that was eye-opening to everybody on both sides, AEW side, the wrestler side, the media people side. That can't happen. That cannot happen.
Well, because it wasn't, I didn't, I mean, and also Don Callis has poked at wrestling media before. Yeah. It did seem like, and we'll get there, but I think just to mention it now, on Dynamite, when he did have a line about wrestling journalists, about having that press conference in the middle of the ring, and he was going to do it in front of journalists, but there aren't any real wrestling journalists. It felt like that was a little bit of a dig.
Yeah.
Also.
And like, again, we do a podcast twice a week here, Drew. Like, but there are people that like That is their job. And they're friends with us, and that's what they do. And I think a situation that happens there, it just puts everybody, like, it creates that narrative. And now Don Callis is a heel character, but a lot of wrestlers feel that way. They don't like media. They're like, what the hell is this media shit? Like, this is all newer to us, last 10 years or 5 or 10 years. Like, what is all this crap? A lot of wrestlers don't like that side of things. And I think when things like that happen, it just puts a bad light on everybody. And it gives more people inside the business more reason to be like, see, I told you, we don't need these types around here. What are they good for? What are they good for? They don't even do, made our champion look bad kind of thing. And I think that creates a more negative.
And I'm not a journalist either. I've never been in a press room. I've never talked to a wrestler.
I mean, I've been in one, but I'm not a journalist. I'm not a journalist by any means. But I've been in a room, but I am not a journalist at all. But anyway,
the people who are sitting there asking questions should be journalists asking questions. If you're going to do the media scrum or a press conference or whatever, it's not the person with the microphone asking a question, kissing the ass of the person, which unfortunately is a lot of WWE press conferences, especially the Triple H ones, where it's just like, oh, Triple H, you god of wrestling creative, how is it to be you? Do you just love being you? That's like dumb questions that shouldn't.
Well, when they ask the serious questions, they don't get answered. You still have to ask the question as a media member. You still have to ask the question, but again, we're talking about the other company. They asked Triple H about the lawsuit a couple months ago. He said he didn't read it. They asked Triple H.
He's had some pretty fucking.
They asked Triple H the last time. Hey, there's been a while since there's been a black singles person on your show. I don't see color. About the worst thing you could say, Triple H. I don't see color. It's like, okay, well, you might need new glasses, buddy. What do you see? You don't read the lawsuit. You don't see color. What the hell are you looking at? But you know what I mean? So, like, I do feel like there is a little bit. Again, I don't know who was in that room. They just got to be better. You got to be better. You have to ask Mariah May questions like, why are you there? If you are not there to ask questions, then why are you there? Why are you there?
I wouldn't.
And
go to
Sunday Sinner's 100% right. Cody is the only one that answers questions honestly if he's asked them. And poor Cody has been put up there and had to answer tough questions about Vince and about the lawsuit and about some stuff that a performer and a wrestler like that shouldn't have to answer. But he's been up there and he's answered them like a champ because WWE's left them out to dry. Because like, yeah, you can go first. You can go first. We're not gonna.
Yeah,
we'll have Triple H fuck this up at the end, but But
Triple Paul again. I wouldn't go to a press scrum or a media press, whatever they're calling those things. I wouldn't go to one of those things because I am not a person writing for a Fightful, a Wrestling Observer, a Post Wrestling, any of these types of sites that actually do genuine journalism and reporting on wrestling to ask questions, because who the fuck am I? I am a nobody. If it firmly became a thing where we had where we could interview wrestlers and we started to become a little bit more journalistic and reporter type people, then I deserve to be in that room. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. If it does, cool. This guy's already kind of started doing that on the WWE side. So,
very small, very minimal, very minimal.
Yeah, but I mean, it happened at least.
Yeah. And look, if AEW gave me access to Grand Slam, because I asked for access to Grand Slam. If they would have gave me access to Grand Slam, I would have went to Grand Slam. They didn't have a press conference, and I wasn't traveling across the country to Washington. But like, if I were to start getting access to AEW things, I would go. I understand your sentiment, but like, I want to be in that room, because if I was in that room, we wouldn't have saw a tweet with Mariah May sitting there embarrassed. Not feeling great. You know what I mean? So like, I want to be in that room because somebody needs to be in the room asking real questions. actually asking questions. Now, I know not every media member travels to every show. It depends on location, timing, vacations, price, all stuff like that. But like, you just need to do something different. You just need to do something different. You need different faces, different people in that room if you're AEW, and more people in that room. You should be giving access. Every arena I see is half empty. You can't make a couple more seats for more media people? Are you shitting me? Like, what are you doing? If anything, the media people are going to broadcast your product more. They help you. They can help you if you do it the right way. And I feel like, we talk about merchandising and advertisement as something that AEW needs to work on. Media relations is also something AEW needs to work on because they don't have any, and they need to be better. Anyway, back to the pay-per-view. Katsuyori Shibata. This might have been my favorite Shibata match I've seen in AEW. I very much enjoyed this match. Well, I want to talk about the ending of it because a lot of people were. The ending kind of seemed to, some people were like, oh, it was kind of hokey kind of thing. But Scapegoat Jack Perry retains his TNT title. They did the spot where Shibata had Jack Perry in a sleeper hold, and Jack Perry kind of countered the sleeper hold with a pin, and he actually pinned Shibata's shoulders to the mat for the 1, 2, 3 while being choked out. So Jack Perry did retain, but I thought everything that led up to, I didn't mind the ending at all. But I thought everything leading up to the ending was good. It was one of the quicker matches on the show, but it was still really good.
It felt a little flat in the beginning, and I questioned it specifically because there was no follow up to it on Dynamite at all.
Okay,
That
that is true. Okay. That is true.
So what was
it was just kind of,
yeah. But maybe they'll do something next week.
Well, I think the follow up. I don't think so. I think this Shibata Jack Perry thing was very much a one and done. That's what I think. Because
the match wasn't bad at all.
No,
I enjoyed the match.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, all right. It was like the only real moment of the show.
Well, I think this match was just designed to get to where we're going after this, because post-match, Jack Perry attacks Shibata, starts beating him down, and we see Daniel Garcia come down to the ring. Jack Perry runs off, and it looks like we are pretending, and we'll talk about it on Dynamite because there was another crossover with these two, but it looks like they're kind of leaning or leading us down the path of maybe Daniel Garcia challenging Jack Perry for the TNT Championship. One thing that we had talked about last week here on Firmly AEW. So I feel like the Shibata thing was literally just a one-off to get us to this. But that wasn't the only thing that happened after this match. Logan, you are right. I believe there were a couple jabs back and forth between those two gents over that last year.
That's where the running from the grind thing.
Yeah, running from the grind. I like people that want to work hard. Sounds like every billionaire boss I've ever heard. Oh, no, again, we're talking about wrestlers who are making good money, but sounds like every boss. Oh, you don't work hard enough. I want people that work hard enough that I can exploit and do things and, not pay them what they're worth and have them work more than they should. And sorry, it's political season, Drew. We're getting after it, man. We got 19 days or some shit, whatever. God bless everybody. God bless everybody. All right. But Daniel Garcia comes out, Jack Perry scatters, and then we hear Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
This was a crazy 15
minutes. This whole thing was crazy. So MJF shows up unexpectedly. He is filming Happy Gilmore 2 as we speak, which I knew they were making a Happy Gilmore 2, Drew, which made me nervous because Happy Gilmore, especially, Adam Sandler's a New Englander. That's early Adam Sandler. Those movies, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, they have a certain place in a lot of our hearts around here. The fact that they're making a Happy Gilmore 2 scares the shit out of me because it's going to be so bad and it's going to ruin the first. I hope not, but it's probably going to be so bad.
Recent Adam Sandler has been hit or miss.
Not great. So I'm nervous about it. I did not know MJF was in it, though, so hearing that MJF is in it, that's kind of fun. But yeah, I'm nervous about that Happy Gilmore 2 because the first one still to this day, a classic. So MJF is here. And
Price is wrong, bitch.
As MJF is kind of staring down Daniel Garcia, Jack Perry returns. He blindsides Garcia. He leaves them laying. Johnny, good morning, my friend. Welcome in the chat. We're going through WrestleDream currently. So then Max takes his jacket off. He unbuttons his shirt. You know, he pretends he's like looking at Daniel, saying like, "Ah, you all right?" But then he blasts him with punches. He gets on the mic and he tells everybody what he's been doing, what Garcia's been doing. He says he found the pawn shop where Garcia sold the Dynamite diamond ring, and now he's going to make him kiss it. And it looks like he has the diamond ring. He's going to make him kiss it. And then we hear it's all about that boom. And we get another return of Adam Cole, baby. Makes his return. He runs MJF off. He helps Garcia to his feet. They do a little fist bump. Adam Cole does his little Adam Cole baby, his booms, and happy day. And one thing that I will say is Adam Cole ran down the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
That was very on purpose. Him running down the ramp after MJF to show off that he's looking healthy. The leg is good. The ankle is good. The foot is good. Big boost. Big boost to the roster. Not only, I know MJF kind of went away again to finish filming, so he might not be back regularly for like a little bit. He had a video thing on Dynamite, which we'll discuss. But Adam Cole coming back after a year. Daniel Garcia now being re-signed back. It feels like this AEW roster is getting into full form because yesterday was also the birthday of a wrestler who might be coming back soonish for AEW, and that is one Kenny Omega. So you have him lying out there as well, who possibly could be with Ibushi as well. So you're getting Jay White back. Swerve is back from his little short hiatus. MJF is going to be coming back here once he's done filming. You got a full-time re-signed Daniel Garcia back in the mix. And now you throw Adam Cole back in here. And then you get Kenny Omega down the road. It feels like we are getting to a fully healthy, full AEW roster, which we have not had for, a year and a half, maybe? I feel like there's been big people.
Adam Copeland also is going to come back.
Adam Copeland's out there as well. Yes. I forgot about him, and I shouldn't have. He was doing some of his best career work for me this whole time until he got hurt. So, Adam Copeland as well, you throw him in there wherever he wants to come back. I mean, Tony Storm has been gone for 2 months as well. You're talking, we're looking like AEW could be getting, the band back together and being, full force here in the next couple months. Big time Adam Cole coming back. How'd you feel? I mean, this was a jam-packed segment. It's like,
okay, it made up for the finish being weird because I wasn't, by the time Adam Cole was coming out, I had already forgotten about it. We got Danny back. We got MJF. We've got Adam Cole. Okay. That's good. I'm satisfied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%. Liked it a lot. And then we'll hear more from Adam Cole shortly. And then it was time, Drew. I mean, my God, dude. One of the best matches of the year, in my opinion. Triple threat. Nope, that's a lie. 3-way for AEW International Championship. Will Ospreay defending against Ricochet and Konosuke Takeshita. I mean,
I gasped a lot.
I don't even know where to begin, really. I don't even know where to begin.
That was like 80% of the match was me going, oh my God.
Unbelievable. Back and forth, reversals, strikes, bombs, pile drivers.
I've ever seen.
Yeah. Takeshita just stiff as hell, just walloping Ospreay and Ricochet throughout this match. This match was so good. All three of these guys were perfect. He was. He's a baby. In my opinion, he's a baby face in general. Like people
He's
love that
a
guy.
massive heel in my eyes right now, but
He
that's
is,
fine.
but like people love him, and as they should. He's
Oh
incredible.
yeah, I love him too. But I boo people I love still.
That's fair, out of respect. But obviously, towards the end of this match, referee takes a bump. Takeshita did a wheelbarrow tombstone pile driver to Ricochet through a table at one point, from the apron to the floor through a table. Incredible. Slides back in the ring. We get a hidden blade. He takes the elbow pad off. Will Ospreay goes for a second one. And then Callis pulls the ref out of the ring for the cover. So now we're starting to get some shenanigans. Don Callis gets in the ring. He has the screwdriver. It looks like Don Callis is going to hit Will Ospreay with the screwdriver, but Will blocks him. He looks like he's going to give Callis the Tiger Driver 91, and it's like
callback. That's the callback to, and I had mentioned this over and over, like 2 months ago, when the original split was happening between Will Ospreay and the Callis family.
Yeah,
that promo in the back when Kyle Fletcher, who now he needs a Tiger Driver.
Yeah.
Kyle's like, if anybody, when the MJF feud was happening, if anybody deserves a Tiger Driver, isn't it that guy, pointing in that direction where Don Callis just happened to walk? It was like, oh.
Yep. So he goes for it, but a man in a hoodie attacks.
You could tell it was Kyle Fletcher.
100%. A man in a hoodie, which was Kyle Fletcher, attacks Will Ospreay from behind. He hits him in the back of the head with the screwdriver. Takeshita then lowers his knee pad. Fletcher wakes the ref up. Takeshita wins by pinfall, becoming the new AEW International Champion. And then post-match, Kyle Fletcher hits the Tiger Driver 91 on Will Ospreay. Will is like convulsing in the ring as the Callis family and the new international champion leave. And Don Callis pats Kyle on the back and says, well done. Good job. And that is how this match ends. We did not do the match justice. This match was incredible. One of the best matches of the year.
It's going to be a match of the
match on this show. And this had a whole lot of good matches on this show. This was the best match on this show. Incredible stuff from beginning to end. Storyline after the match. Loved it, Drew. And Takeshita is a stud, and he is a star. And I am excited because he said that night at the presser, and he said on Dynamite, or Callis said for him on Dynamite, but he said he's going to travel with that belt. He's going to travel, and he's going to go everywhere around the world and defend that belt. I'm very excited to see what this title reign looks like for Takeshita if they run with him for a little bit until Ospreay tries to or gets it back. Loved it. Loved everything about it, Drew.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Just was mesmerized by this whole match, and and this was one in my mind. Honestly, this match was 1A on the card.
That's fair.
1B.
Oh yeah,
very soon.
Yeah,
very soon. Not the main event.
No, I'm with you. I think I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
We then had some non-wrestling things that happened on this show, Drew. First, Renee Paquette is out back, and she's with Jerry Lynn. And Jerry Lynn is there with Orange Cassidy. Absolutely. Fletcher has everything you want in a main event, dude. Like his
face is
unbelievable.
Slappable. I mean, he honestly has a slappable face. He looks like somebody that you want to punch. So, he will be a great heel for them.
Yeah. He's going to be a great everything for them. Like he's just a great everything for them. It's crazy how good this guy is. So she's with Jerry Lynn, who's with Orange Cassidy, and he says that he has a special message for Cassidy. And he says, my entire career, I've never seen a guy like you. And I believe that if you really wanted to, if you tried, you could be the man. And I believe the man he's talking about is AEW World Heavyweight Champion. That is what Jerry Lynn is talking about right there with Orange Cassidy, which I would love Orange Cassidy going after the World Heavyweight title. I think that would really, really work. And then Hook rolls up.
It seemed puzzling at first, the segment, but then you realize why. later
Well,
on.
yeah, and then Hook rolls up, and he tells Orange that Jerry Lynn is right, and that Cassidy, and that he's right. You could be the man. And then we kind of see like Orange Cassidy as much as Orange Cassidy thinks about things, we saw him thinking about it. Yeah. And then we have Prince Nana in the ring promoting his coffee more than anything. He does that first. He gives an update. He says, I have an update from Swerve, and he introduces him, and Swerve makes his way down to the ring. He says he admits that it feels weird to be out here without the title around his waist, but he's happy to be home. He gives us a medical update. He admits that he's still a little wonkly. He's got some tingling in his back and his fingers. But like everything he said about Bryan Danielson is coming back to him. He said he is medically cleared, though, and he wanted to come out here and address his hometown people and let them know about the past, the present, and the future. MVP then interrupts, and Shelton Benjamin is with him. MVP says he wants to discuss Swerve's future and says that Nana mustn't have given you the card because you haven't returned any of my calls, you haven't answered my emails, my DMs, so I assume you must be in deep contemplation about your future. He says, you and I go way back, and I believed in you before you even believed in yourself. He goes, but your career has floundered, and one of the things MVP, I'm speaking as him, he says, one of the things I've been known for is helping champions climb up that mountain again, which is factually correct. And he says, I'm here to talk some business right here, right now. And the funny thing that Swerve did right out the gate, he just goes, MVP. He goes, first of all, hi, hello. He just kind of does that. I thought that was funny. That made me chuckle. And he says, he says, you gave me a lot of great advice in 2017 when we had a match in Defy up the road. That got a good pop from the Washington crowd. Says he learned a lot that night and he carries it to this day. He's seen MVP ascend great stars above superstardom, just like Shelton Benjamin. And then he put over Shelton Benjamin here, Swerve. And I loved this, Drew. He said that Shelton Benjamin was a big inspiration for him, and 12-year-old Swerve would be crying right now being in Shelton's presence. He said that he paved the way for guys like him, for black wrestlers to do what they do in this ring. Swerve also said he's been watching the show the last couple weeks, and the things MVP has been saying are not right. They are wrong. He said the last couple months haven't been good for him. He can't even remember the cage match because he got knocked senseless. And he said, and then he starts kind of questioning Nana a little bit here, Drew. So he goes, look, under Nana's watch, I lost my main event. I lost my childhood home. I lost my belt. He says, on the other hand, though, I wouldn't have gotten any of those things if it wasn't for Nana. He goes, but I do go way back with the MVP, and the potential of what we could do, that could really make some history. So he's kind of pondering things. And then he says, I like having more power than anybody. And with MVP and Shelton Benjamin backing me up, my God, what could happen? He says there's a lot of things. He's old. He's up there. We're going to talk about him because that match last night, unbelievable. He says there's a lot of things that really irk him about Nana sometimes. He goes, but Nana's family, and you don't turn your back on family. He goes, so MVP, you can take your business card and shove it up your ass because I'm not interested. And we're here tonight in Swerve.
I love the way he said ass, by the way.
Yeah.
Shove it up your ass.
Shove it up your ass.
Your ass.
And then Shelton Benjamin gets in his face. And Shelton Benjamin just says, we're not asking. We're telling you that if there is no you without us, and you're either with us or you're against us.
See, this is the funny thing is I feel like the past couple of weeks I have been equating the wrestling that we're talking about to The Walking Dead. Because I did a rewatch of that show and I finished it the other day. And one of the things I was always like saying is, why is it that there's always like a new group that comes onto the show? And it's like, okay, well, I was just walking in this direction and you happened to come across me. So why now are you trying to kill me? Just because I was walking in this direction. And then it's like, oh, well, now we've captured you. Now you have to be with us. Yeah. And you have to do... It's the same thing that we're talking about here. It's like, well, wait, hold on. Can't we just exist in the same space?
Yeah.
I have to be either on your side or against you, fighting you.
Yes.
Can't we have like a middle ground here?
No.
That's what the past like so many groups, new communities and whatever would come onto the show, and it's like, oh well, so you were walking in our direction, so now we're capturing you and you're part of our community, or else we're killing you. It's like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
what?
Survival of the fittest, Drew. Survival of the fittest.
Yeah. So MVP, the Hurt Syndicate seems to be a Walking Dead like community that Rick and the crew would stumble upon, and well, it's not. We can coexist together. It's you're either with us or you're against us.
100%.
So it's gonna
100%.
be
And
really, really fun to watch.
yeah. And they announced that in a couple weeks on Dynamite. Is it next week or the week after? I thought it might have been a couple weeks. But we're
It's
getting
the Fright Night Dynamite.
that's
in
right. 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now. We are getting Swerve and Shelton Benjamin one-on-one, which should be very, 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 very good. So yeah, they're separated by security, and then Swerve and Nana embrace, and that's how that ends. So
I
very
thought
excited to see more of that.
one other thing that was like, oh, was it was planned for the debut of Bobby Lashley to be in during the segment, but
That's what
then
people was it actually planned?
it was. But then they decided against it because they didn't want to take away from other things going on, which I
That's fair.
understand.
Yeah.
But that segment was really like booked
For
for
Bobby
the
to show up. I think instead of security, it was supposed to be Bobby that was going to come beat the crap out of Swerve, I would think.
and probably yeah, that was what they would have done.
Yeah.
So it would have been good for them to kind of like pivot the segment a little bit to not make it because I was just like waiting for
Yeah.
Bobby to come from behind and knock him
Yeah.
out and whatever, and
Mm.
so it never happened. But now I'm thinking probably Fright Night Dynamite is what is happening.
Probably. I think we were all expecting Bobby Lashley to show up here. I thought that was one of the givens that mainly everyone was like, oh, 100% he's showing up. Even though he didn't, I still think it was a good segment. I thought the segment was fine.
Oh yeah,
I thought
yeah.
getting him out there in front of his home crowd kind of as his kind of return here since the cage match. I thought it fit. I did see some people, including some I respect, say, that could have been on Dynamite or that could have been on whatever because there was no Bobby Lashley, which I understand. But I thought the segment was fine. I'm very excited to see how this plays out and everything that happens because I dig it. I dig it. We then had our 2 out of 3 falls match between Beast, Mortos, and
1B.
Hologram. This was a very good lucha style match. I don't keep up with lucha style apparently, but 2 out of 3 falls is a thing they do quite often in lucha style. Because when this match was made, I was like, why the fuck are we doing 2 out of 3 falls? What is going on here? But then
Yeah, I
we're
thought the
doing
same.
see, guys, what happens is if you see something that you don't know a lot about, you can go on the internet and you go to Google and you type in a search thing and you can find out more
Really?
information about it instead of just going on Twitter and bitching that they don't give you enough information in your hands because not everything is handed to you your whole life, you children.
Google.
So I went on Google and I did some research about lucha wrestling, and apparently 2 out of 3 falls is a common thing they do over there, which then, because I'm a normal human being with not a normal brain, but with a brain, I said, oh, that's why they did 2 out of 3 falls, because it's customary to lucha wrestling. The 2 lucha wrestlers wrestling on this pay-per-view that I purchased. Oh, look at this. Drew, don't get jealous. Ophelia is seeing Mortos tomorrow. So she must be going to a local wrestling show tomorrow up there. And Mortos is on the bill.
I might not be jealous. That beautiful man.
I know. But this match was very good, Drew. They didn't do
1B for me.
They didn't do the trope though, where they have the guy lose the first fall and then win 2 straight. They did the every other.
It was perfect.
One. Yeah.
This was another match where I was sitting here watching it, and 80% of the match was, oh my God. Because this was legitimately awesome. And this was
It was
another.
very good.
This was just like, why is this match on WrestleDream? It should be like a main event of Collision or even a Dynamite or like something. It didn't seem like it belonged on WrestleDream, but when it was over, it absolutely belonged on WrestleDream, 100%. And it was my 1B. It was. There were some spots that Hologram. I don't remember the name of the names of moves and all that stuff, but he hit like some sort of snap move.
Oh, from the top rope.
Yeah,
it was a diving crucifix driver. He hit it twice. First of all, one thing I will say though is, so he won. Okay, so he won the first fall he hit that driver and he rolled it through into the crucifix pin and he got the win. And then later on in the match, he did that same sequence again, where he hit it all the same on Mortos, but Mortos kicked out of that one the second time. But I was like, yeah, it was good stuff. And I will say Beast. So yeah, Hologram wins the first one on that ridiculous move by Hologram. And then Mortos evens it up. And Mortos, and I've seen him do it before, but my God, he did a power bomb into a backbreaker where it was just this violent power bomb, but just right on, and the in between the blades of like directly on his knee. And I was like, that, holy shit. It's not the first person I've seen done it. MJF, I've seen do it before. And but like just that move to me, I'm like, that is one of the most violent wrestling moves I've ever seen. Because it's a power bomb, which is still, for me, a guy that grew up in the 90s, like one of the most devastating wrestling moves you can do is a power bomb. Still a finish for some wrestlers. But instead of just slamming him on the mat, you are driving him down into your friggin' knee. Oh,
yeah.
Unbelievable. And that evened up the score, and it was 1-1. And then they just went for like another.
That was genuinely the first time that Hologram was pinned in AEW.
Yep. And then they went for another 10 or 12 minutes in this third fall, a lot of back and forth. That avalanche press that Beast Mortos does off the top rope, where he just picks them up and body slams them I love it. I love it.
It was almost even if the three-way wasn't on this card, honestly, that could have been a contender for match of the night.
It was incredible. But Hologram hits a Revolution powerbomb to win this match 2-1. So technically he is still undefeated, 15-0 now in AEW. Even though, like Drew said, in this match, we did see him physically take his first pinfall, but he is technically still undefeated, as it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Hologram is good. I mean, Beast Mortos is more my style of wrestler. Like, I prefer Mortos to Hologram if I had to pick out of the two. But that's because I just like chubbier guys, and he's a little bit like of a chubby lucha kind of. He reminds me of, like, he's got a build to me like a La Parka. Like, he can do lucha stuff, but he's like a bigger, heftier guy. He's not big, but he's like a heftier, like he's got more meat on him. If that makes sense. But real good stuff. Both these guys are great. I like how Hologram is really I do think they need to differentiate the shows again and get Collision back on course of kind of being a slightly different show. I know you mentioned the Outrunners earlier. I think Hologram has really just been a Collision guy for the most part, besides one match.
Right.
However, I would like to see Holograms littered throughout all the stuff more. I think they know what they have there. We then had Brody King going one-on-one with Darby Allin. This match was also a lot of fun. These guys have great chemistry.
Kill Darby Allin.
You can't.
Not.
These guys have great chemistry. All of their matches that we've seen in AEW have been very, very good. I love Brody King. Brody King is a guy I would love to see in the world title picture sooner than later. I love that guy. I love his look. I love big dudes, tattoo. Like, he just has the look. I agree. Thank you for the chat, Hezekiah. 100%. I felt like Collision's kind of lost its way for me these last 4 or 5 months. Like, it just feels like a B show, and it just feels like it doesn't have an identity.
it's a fun show to just like sit and watch,
Yeah.
but it has no real consequence to it.
The thing that sucks is like we're doing a firmly AEW show here every Thursday. We're supposed to be talking Collision and Dynamite, and we really only talk Dynamite every week because there's just not super juicy stuff going on in Collision. It's a good wrestling show. You see good matches. There's a couple smaller storyline things, but it is very clear when you watch the AEW product that Dynamite is A and Collision is B.
If I wasn't getting paid essentially to watch or cover Collision
Yeah.
by people, I probably wouldn't be watching it.
Yeah. I just feel like they need to kind of get back, especially now that you got a healthy raw. Like, I'm not saying they need to be separated. I'm not for like separate rosters or anything, but Collision should feel different. Those first couple months, and I get it, a guy was there that is now somewhere else, but those first couple months, Collision felt like a different show.
Yeah.
It was a different type of wrestling show. You don't need CM Punk there to have it feel like that show still. Like, just get back to it. Just get back to it.
But it was, I think it fell victim to first impression, and
I agree.
It was hot when it was Punk the first 7.
We were coming on here regularly, and we weren't the only ones. A lot of people who covered wrestling were coming on their shows regularly saying that Collision was routinely better than Dynamite those first couple months, routinely.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's like it's not even the same. And we said it here, like this to me is not a Raw and SmackDown thing. This is a WCW Nitro and fucking Thunder. This is what I feel like it's becoming, and that's a problem. That's a problem. Because again, Thunder, when it first started, was holy shit. Thunder, they're going to have 2 good shows. And then after a month, they had the main events were friggin' Juventud Guerrero. And that's not a negative. He's great. But like that guy shouldn't be main eventing when you have Hulk Hogan and Goldberg and DDP on your, like, no, that's not how this works. Anyway, I digress. So, so Brody King and Darby Allin.
That guy, though, that was booking all that stuff, he knows a lot about wrestling.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. And he's a clown. Which is part of the reason why it happened. But I'm sorry, you just can't, come on. Car crash of a match, as you would expect with Darby Allin. Getting thrown all over the friggin' place.
By the way, I don't know if you can...
Huh?
I don't know if you can edit this now, but apparently the year is 24.
Oh, is it?
So,
is it really?
Boy, it's feeling...
Oh, yeah, the 2.
Yeah, can you edit that while we're on the show, or no? Can you not edit that?
Yeah, people should understand.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone to the path. We've gone, 2,000 years into the.
Listen, I would easily take a year change right now. This has not been. 2024 has been. It's been a good year. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year.
It's been dog shit this year.
Yeah, so I mean, I could very happily.
Worst years of my life.
Yeah, I would agree. So I could very easily wait. Let's see. I think I saved all the changes, so maybe.
Oh, there we go.
Boom.
I see it now. Although that won't change on Twitter now, but that's fine.
No, it won't change on YouTube. It won't change on YouTube because the stream must be scheduled in the future and within 1 year. So the fact that we're already live, it's going to be 024 on YouTube. That's what it is. I don't care. Anyway, car crash of a match though. The stuff with the steps that Brody King was doing earlier, he was stepping on the steps on Darby's ribs. That's not a little man.
You could see the markings on his back from that.
Yeah, not a little man. Not a little man doing that. But at the end of the day, at one point, Darby hit a coffin drop to the floor, which was gnarly looking.
I love some of that high up camera angle that they have. Of like where you can just really like see the whole mat, and then the way that they like zoom in and out from that, I really like that shot a lot.
100%.
They did this moment. It looked really good.
Yep, there was a coffin drop into the steel steps by Darby at one point, which was just my God, man. But Darby Allin wins the match. He defeats Brody King with the coffin drop, and then after the match, Drew. Brody King gets to his feet, and they have a sign of respect.
Yeah.
He puts his hand out for a handshake, and Darby accepts. And Brody King just leaves. Now, they've had some battles. This is their 3rd or 4th match together, and Darby's won every one of them. Well, no, Brody King eliminated him from the Battle Royal when he choked him over the. But Darby's won, I think, the majority, if not all, of the matches against each other with these two. But a rare sign of respect from Brody King.
Yeah.
I did not mind it at all. You have to, at some point, when you give a guy everything you've had multiple times, and he still doesn't die and beats you, at some point you have to just tip your cap and go, okay. Like what more can I do? I'm 3 times your size.
Both hometown boys too.
Yes. So I thought it was a nice little moment. I thought it was a nice little moment.
Yeah.
And then we move forward. It was the AEW World Tag Team Championship match. It was the Young Bucks defending against Private Party. The Young Bucks, let me tell you, they put on their working shoes on this match.
Second pay-per-view in a row that they did.
This match started off a little slow. I felt like it started off a little slow, but about 5 or 10, about in that second, like 5 or 10 minutes window, the Young Bucks just flipped the switch. It felt like, and they were like, okay, here we go. And this was a great match.
There were some legitimate moments where I really thought Private Party were going to win.
I think they should have done it.
I think they should have also.
I think they should have done it. Yep. And there were a lot of people again, I felt like we got into this Acclaimed territory where they got a tag title match. And in our brains, because of what you've shown us on the TV screen as the booking and the build, we kind of know they're not ready for that yet. But as the match played out and you saw the crowd reaction, it was once again, that crowd was ready for Private Party to pull the upset again. And that crowd wanted Private Party to pull the upset again. And I did as well. And I think I wasn't the only one watching at home either.
Nope.
And then it didn't happen. And it kind of took the air out of the sails a little bit, I thought. I thought the Young Bucks could get him back immediately. They're the EVPs. But I felt like making that move and giving it to Private Party would have been the move. It would have been the move. But nonetheless, it was a really, really good match. And they win with the TK driver on Isaiah Cassidy. And then after the match, they show Stokely Hathaway laughing at Private Party. So they're continuing with that as well. But I thought this was a really good tag title match, Drew. I would have made it, and I would have had Private Party upset them again. I think that would have been a lot of fun and a real good moment for the crowd. But I don't think it took away from the pay-per-view or anything like that. But I was really feeling Private Party. Christy, I think it's coming. We're going to talk about Dynamite, and we're going to talk about what the Elite did or didn't do on Dynamite.
Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff going on there.
Yes, but I think it's coming. I think it's going to start when Daniel Garcia takes the TNT title from Jack Perry.
Well,
although Jack Perry now was saying somebody else's name last night on Dynamite a lot that we have to talk about as well. But
last week, I had said this should be the start of the title losses of the Elite.
And Private Party should have been part of it.
Yeah, Private Party should have got the tag titles away from them. Then Jack Perry loses to Daniel Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
Then Kazuchika Okada loses to Kenny Omega. But I don't know if that's going to be this anymore.
We'll see. But again, all in all, though, this tag match was a very good tag match, and I would like to see Private Party continue along. I do feel like Private Party should be the team that beats the Bucks for those tag titles. I feel like that would be a good thing to happen. We then had our odd placement for this match being the co-main or the second to last match.
Oh, no, this was actually perfect.
It was. I liked it. I liked the match. I know people are going to shit on it because it's Jericho, and they always shit on Jericho. But Chris Jericho going up against Mark Briscoe, who is defending his Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship. Jericho is accompanied by his fellas, and Rocky Romero is out there with. Was he the only one out there? No, Orange Cassidy was out there too. Orange Cassidy arrived out there too. All right, so we had Orange Cassidy and Rocky Romero. We had Big Bill and Brian Keith at ringside. This match was actually pretty good. Yeah. I think Jericho's had a few good matches here on this run that people are shitting on him for because he's Jericho, which I understand. I get it. But I think he's been kind of not given the credit he deserves here, a little bit. But this was really good. This was really, really good. Back and
I
forth.
enjoyed this match.
I like the end of this match where Jericho hits a J Driller on Mark, and it looks like he's going to win the title while using his brother's move, but obviously no. And then I loved Mark then winning this match and retaining with the J Driller because he doesn't do that move. He doesn't do that move. And I thought Jericho mentioning Jay a couple weeks ago, leading into this finish where they're doing his move. You know, Jay was very much a focal point of this match, even though obviously Jay is no longer around. I thought it was very well done. And I thought the right guy won because everybody, including me a little bit, was nervous.
I thought Jericho was winning.
I thought once they mentioned Jay, you can't. Once they mentioned Jay. If you were going to mention Jay that way and then you were going to have Mark Briscoe lose after that, that would have felt bad to me. That would have made me feel iffy. But I think the way that Mark won to kind of get that, like, yeah, you're not talking about my brother like that, you piece of shit. No, not happening. And Mark won. I think that was the right way to do it.
Well, now unfortunately it seems like it's not over.
No. And we got
so
Sinner
it could
saying,
possibly still happen.
Yeah, he says, I think the main reason he gets heat is because he gets it because he seems like anyone else games. Yeah, 100%.
Well, there's also,
Well, there's other things. There's other things. Christy, I agree. I love Mark Briscoe. I enjoyed this match. I thought it was another good match on a card full of good matches, and I'm happy that Mark Briscoe won. Now I would like to see Mark Briscoe defend that title on Ring of Honor sometimes. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah. I just want to also say Judas became like a meme also. It seemed like, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like it was only about people singing Judas whenever Jericho would come out.
Mm-hmm.
I like the new theme. I don't know what it's called. It's a Fozzy song, I know, but I don't know what it's called. But it rules. I really like it a lot.
Yeah. The Learning Tree song, that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good song. It's a good theme song again. Yeah. So it's a good one. I like it.
It also doesn't have any, moments in the song like Judas in my mind for the crowd to, sing to. So I think it was a perfect new song for this iteration of Jericho.
100%. 100%. Center saying Mark has really come into his own in AEW. He was always the Marty to Jay Sean for the most part in Ring of Honor. Mark deserves this. He does. I have no problem with Mark being in AEW. I would love Mark to be in AEW, but if you're the Ring of Honor World Champion, you need to be on Ring of Honor. Yeah. All right, we are at our main event for WrestleDream. It was the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, defending his AEW World Championship against Jon Moxley. If Bryan Danielson loses, his full-time career as a wrestler is over. I want to focus on the end of this for a lot of it because there was obviously, I loved it, but I know some people, I feel like, Drew, we've gotten into this point now where people are just expecting that every wrestling show ends with a cartwheel and a smile and a wave goodbye and a kiss on the cheek and a pat on the ass on your way out the door. And that is just not how wrestling works. Some shows end, and just in general, you watch a show, you watch a drama. Did Walter White end every episode of Breaking Bad hugging his family and kissing his wife? No, he did not. Some episodes ended where it looked, people, things happened. People died. It's a story. Not every show ends with a handshake and a smile. And this show certainly did not end that way.
It did not.
It ended like it was a funeral, because guess what? It was a funeral. It was a funeral of the full-time wrestling career of one of the greats, arguably the greatest North American wrestler of all time. It was a funeral in the end of his full-time wrestling career because Jon Moxley did defeat Bryan Danielson to become the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion, and everything that transpired afterwards we will get into in depth. But first and foremost, Bryan is your guy. He is your GOAT. Tell me what you thought about the actual wrestling match, because it was a fucking doozy.
It was. I mean, well, we know that, these two have known each other for a very long time, so it was not going to be a bad match. And it was definitely not a bad match. I really like this new heel Moxley a lot. He seems such like I didn't think he could be more of a badass than he already was, but
Yeah.
this makes him even genuinely more of a badass. And he's just systematically beating down and dismantling Bryan Danielson throughout this whole match. And there were those like few moments where it's like, oh, is Danielson gonna win? Is it gonna happen? But it was never gonna happen. And it was foolish to think that maybe he would leave the show still champion. Which I had kind of talked myself into a little bit.
I picked him. I picked him last week. I talked myself into him winning somehow as well.
Yeah, just so that they were, because we knew that Wheeler Yuta was going to be a factor here, and I was hoping that maybe there would just be a little bit more to the full-time run of Bryan's with Wheeler Yuta inclusion into now being a part of the BCC group versus being separating himself and not being happy about what they were doing. I would like to see a little bit of an explanation of like why now all of a sudden he's totally fine with beating up Bryan Danielson when he was vehemently against it for a month. I mean, there was that one moment on last week's Dynamite that we had mentioned where it's like, oh yeah, this is definitely what's happening. But just for that one moment to be the catalyst of him going, fuck Bryan Danielson, he can get killed now. It doesn't really make sense to me, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it at all. I would have liked for the rub to have gone to a younger guy for sure, like a Wheeler Yuta or a Daniel Garcia or somebody, even MJF, of being the one to retire Bryan Danielson's full-time career. But thinking back on it now, like, you know what, it actually does make sense, because specifically for what we've seen on Dynamite last night,
which
will leading to something.
100%. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to talk about all this post-match stuff, and then we're just going to get in and run through the Moxley BCC stuff that happened throughout Dynamite, and then we'll just kind of go from there. I feel like that's the proper way to do it. The ending sequence of this match was excellent. It was a lot of back and forth, close falls. At one point, Moxley hits a Death Rider on Bryan Danielson, and he kicks out at 1. And the crowd is exploding. Danielson's exploding. They're talking shit to each other. It was a really, really good thing. And then Moxley hits a Gotch pile driver. And then it got to Moxley has a choke. He gets a choke on Danielson. Danielson gets all the way back up to his feet. He's fighting desperately, reaching for the ropes. And then Mox falls back into it with the body scissor, and Bryan passes out. The referee has to call it. And that was the official end.
Wasn't a way that I thought that the match would end either.
Yeah. I agree with Joe here, though. He says, I don't think retiring his full-time career is as important as being the guy who retires him for good.
Yeah,
so, because that was the whole thing. It's not he's retiring. It's his full-time career is over. So that to me, and he made it very clear to all of us, he's still going to wrestle. He's still going to wrestle. So I think at one point, probably over the next year and a half, 2 years, who knows, we're going to get that final, like, hey, this is the last match for me.
Right.
And I think that would probably be, okay, let's get a younger guy, a Darby, or let's get a new face of the company guy to beat me. And then that, So Moxley being the one that finishes him, like Joe said, I think those could be different things and they mean a little bit different.
Maybe that's Wheeler then. Wheeler does the official
Could be.
retirement.
Could be. That'd be a good one. So
'Cause there's
after
gotta
this
be a
match,
match between them after this.
100%. After this match, the crowd is in disbelief. Just a silent, just sort of like a calming silence over the crowd after Danielson loses. And then we see Claudio, Pac, and Marina Shafir. They get in the ring. They put the AEW title in a bag. Swerve would be a good one. Swerve would be a damn good one. Okay, so they put the title in the bag, and then we see John is handed a plastic bag. And we've seen this before, Drew. We saw it at All Out. But Wheeler Yuta and Darby Allin then come down to the ring to make the save once Moxley gets the plastic bag. And then we see Wheeler Yuta blast Darby Allin with the Basaiku knee. Wheeler then grabs the bag and chokes Bryan Danielson out with the bag as Darby Allin is taped to the turnbuckles, being able to force watch it. Security comes in. They're fending off security. Private Party, Jeff Jarrett come down. Claudio is horse collaring Danielson with a chair. And on Moxley's command, he stomps the chair on Bryan's neck. And then the rest of the locker room finally gets to the ring, and Moxley and company book it. They run for the hills. Security cuts Darby loose. Medics are arriving to tend on Danielson. They put him on the board. They put him on the stretcher. And you have that one last shot of some security guards, but you see Darby, Private Party, and Orange Cassidy all kind of leaning against the barricade. Darby's down on his feet, looks just heartbroken. They all look heartbroken. And they're just watching what's happening in the ring of their hero, the hero of AEW. Basically, it felt like they were killing him off. It felt like they were literally killing him off. That's what it felt like.
It did. All of the baby faces came down.
Incredible.
Like Cole, Daniel Garcia, Darby Allin was there. Orange Cassidy was there. And they did like the shot looking literally like people witnessed a murder.
Yeah.
Like it was really well done.
It was really well done. It was a great wrestling angle. And yeah, Sonny said the best part of it was Darby. The man that put his body through everything now looked like he was mental, like he looked like he was defeated, which was a good wrinkle because that guy fights through everything. It was just very well done. And like we said, like sometimes you got to send the crowd home heartbroken and angry. And that's what you got to do. And that's what they did.
In his own home. That's some Vince McMahon style booking right there in his own hometown.
Not everything in life ends with a happy ending, man. It is what it is.
No,
it is what it is.
True. If anything, 2024 has taught me it's that.
Yeah.
Sure. So.
In real life, in movies, and TV shows, and sports, and all of it, there is never 100% of the time. There is never a 100% success rate of happy endings. It's just not realistic. It's not how life works. Sometimes life stinks and you got to get through something, or you got to get over something, or you got to do that. And that's what it is. And this is what it is. We all, as wrestling fans, need to mentally come to terms with the fact that we just watched Bryan Danielson's full-time career end, and we might have just saw him get killed. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything from him.
Nope. And I don't think we will for a bit. The show opens on AEW Dynamite. The show opens
incredible
with a promo from Moxley and crew as they're getting in a car, driving away from the arena. At one point when Moxley was talking, you could hear the fans seeing their car drive by and hear the fans start yelling like, "Hey, oh shit, look at him." You know, that was pretty cool. I don't know if you have more notes on the actual promo than I do, but Moxley says that nobody knows what motivates him. He dreams of a land of opportunity. And then he says, the new paradigm is very simple. Everyone in AEW works for me now. There was more in there. I don't know if you have more, but those are the kind of things that stuck out to me.
Like line of the whole thing, but this just feels very grungy, like very Fight Club style, like it's genuinely become the best thing in AEW,
Mhm.
and it's leading somewhere for sure because the inclusion of multiple people on the babyface side tells me that there is maybe some sort of, I don't know if they do like maybe a blood, I don't know, I don't remember when they do blood and guts. I feel like it's
No,
later in
I already happened. Did it not?
they
They done
do.
it this year already? No, maybe not. Maybe it is later in the year. I thought it was always a summer thing. I thought it was a summer thing for them.
Well, they hit Stadium Stampede also.
That's right.
Is
Wait, no,
that
they
the
did
summer
Blood and
thing?
Guts. It was Team Elite versus Team AEW. It Swerve and
Oh,
Sid
yeah,
Barrett
that's
did
right.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So they could do Stadium Stampede. You could do that. You could do Anarchy in the Arena. Would make sense.
Yeah, there
Um,
is some sort of a big match brewing between baby faces and the heels here, and
well, I
there's
don't even
the
know. I think it's bigger than that. I think it's bigger than that. So we're gonna jump around on
go ahead, yeah.
Dynamite. We're gonna jump around on Dynamite because I want to continue with this Moxley stuff. So in the show, in the second hour, we had a 6-man tag. It was the conglomeration, Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, and Rocky Romero against the Elite, who are the Young Bucks and Okada. Good match, back and forth match. However, this match ended by disqualification, Drew, which is a rare DQ in AEW.
Yeah.
And that was
They're
because
doing it a
Wheeler
little bit
Yuta,
more lately,
they
but
are doing it a little bit more. I have noticed
it's
that.
not
But
like
Wheeler,
every show.
towards the end of this match, Wheeler Yuta runs in and he lands Busaiko knee, and Rick Knox has to call for a DQ. And then we see the rest of the BCC. I'm still calling them that until they tell me to call them something different.
I mean, they're calling.
Yeah, they're calling them
so.
that. So right, yeah. So
So.
we see the rest of the BCC come out. Oh, hold on. Dan Brown saying, I have my issues with TK's booking, but if you're going to do long-term booking to lead to a blood and guts match, it would make sense to do it with the guy who isn't full-time. I agree. I agree. I think that's a good call out, Dan. Welcome in, buddy. Hope you're doing well. So we see the BCC get out here. They're attacking the conglomeration. They're beating them down. And this whole time, which the camera and commentary did a great job, and even afterwards they did a great job, the Elite, who are the EVPs of AEW, mind you.
This was really interesting.
They run the company. They're standing there watching and letting this happen. And at one point, they're beating up Orange Cassidy.
Sinner, type the thing that you said last night in the chat so this way we can pull it.
Orange Cassidy comes down. Top Flight comes down. Action Andretti comes down. They destroy all these guys. Marina Shafir is beating up Darius Martin. We're hitting Death Riders. Dark Order then comes down, and they specifically show Dark Order because Alex Reynolds, when he's running down, he hits the Young Bucks and he goes, "What the hell are you doing? Standing up here." He looks at him and goes, "What are you guys doing?" As he's running down there, why are you not doing anything? Dark Order runs down there. They get their shit kicked out of them.
Yeah.
It's and then we get Jack Perry. We see Jack Perry shows up. He stands up there with the rest of the Elite who are still just watching, and he goes, "Let's get out of here." They don't, whatever. Let's get out of here. And they retreat. Then they have Marina Shafir hanging Alex Reynolds with a belt on the ring post, and Jon Moxley grabs the mic, and he openly says, if you're involved with All Elite Wrestling, you are under attack. That's the quote. You are under attack. And he goes, and if you don't like what happened on Saturday night and you don't like this, you got to understand that this is just the cost of doing business. Those are what he said. If you are with AEW, you are under attack. That is what Jon Moxley said.
I think it was Claudio and Pac took the steel step and rammed it into Alex Reynolds. Reynolds, right? That's her name?
Alex Reynolds, yeah.
Yeah. While he was getting choked out. It was just insane. So I want
At
you
one
to
point,
throw
yeah,
up.
Daniel Garcia did come down in the fray as well in this. He was in there as
So
well.
a couple of things I really liked about this a lot before you throw up Sunday Sinner's comment about Jack. I loved that it literally looked like everyone was coming out of all over the place to stop the BCC. Like
Yeah.
it, something that like stuck in my mind is like Dante Martin runs out without a shirt in
Yeah.
jeans,
Yeah.
and like he didn't even have like a belt on, and his pants were like falling down a little bit
Yeah.
because he's getting in the thing. It's like it just seemed like everybody was just in stopping exactly what they were doing in that moment to run out and go and help the baby faces. And
Mhm.
then even the thing that you mentioned, Alex Reynolds running out and telling the Bucks like, "Hey,
Yeah, like what are you guys doing here? You're
er,
EVP. You run this company. This is your
yeah."
company. Like, what are you doing?
So
This was the Sunday Sinner says that he sees the Elite eventually joining in the feud against the BCC eventually,
yes,
but with Jack Perry turning on them and
yeah,
joining Mox. And then you have Agent Joe saying he agrees. Jack's enjoyment of violence fits more with the BCC. Plus, there was an interaction with
yeah.
Mox and Jack Perry in the back when Mox first got there as well.
Which Sunday
Sunday,
Sinner also mentioned too.
yeah, said AEW is very good at planting seeds, then giving the audience time to forget the seeds were planted until the tree is grown. I think that's what they did with the Mox Perry interaction. And Agent Joe is saying, my thing is that the BCC can dominate because they work as a unified front. The rest of the locker room comes out in 2s and 3s, but not attacking as a united
Yeah,
AEW team. So I assume that Bryan Danielson, even though his full-time career is over, he will be the guy eventually that comes back and leads Team A. You know what I mean? Like I can see it like
yeah,
Garcia, Orange Cassidy, Private Party, get some of the younger, even though Cassidy's not really young, but you know what I mean? Like sign kind of the younger, newer guys on the roster, and
mhm.
they're going to need that one leader to really lead the charge for Team AEW, and it's going to be Danielson.
Yeah. I think
Maybe that could be
when
his last match if it's like if he goes, this is it, one more time, I'm doing this, and it's a big. I
yeah,
prefer a one-on-one as his last match, but
so would I.
yeah,
I thought that was fascinating because I didn't think of what Sinner had originally said about Jack Perry joining with the Blackpool Combat Club.
yeah, that would be a good wrinkle.
It's calling back to that moment when Moxley first started becoming heel and then went up to Perry and was like, I don't know. I don't care what other people say about you. You're a sweet kid.
Yeah.
Like there has to be a reason for that.
Mhm.
And also, Jack was the one preventing the Elite from the Bucks in particular from helping last night.
Mhm.
He was the one that was like, nah, don't worry about that. Let's go to the back. That
Yep.
doesn't involve us. That
Yep.
doesn't do with us.
Mhm.
So it feels like something is going on there where Jack, and I agree with, I think it was Agent Joe. Agent Joe says that Jack's enjoyment of violence really fits in more with the Blackpool Combat Club.
I agree.
And he also, somebody I don't know if it was Sinner or somebody mentioned it last night on Roundtable, that Jack even dresses like the BCC dress. He comes out in all dark
Leather,
street
black
clothing,
leather. Yeah, yep, 100%.
jeans and boots. He doesn't wear wrestling gear, and even in his title matches, he is yeah, and then Sinner and Joe also said the same thing too there. Jack was the one that called out Kenny Omega last night
Mhm.
and did the whole that segment was gross.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Kenny, and dump a bunch of
intestines.
intestines onto the cake that they had there,
Yep.
calling out the surgery that he had to get. So now something that also I was going to mention that now Joe started the continuation of the thread of what I was going to mention. Jack did what no other champion in AEW has done, and took the literal. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't the literal belt, but he took the belt, in kayfabe, what was supposed to leave, and totally remade it in his own image.
Yes.
Moxley, now, because I was going to mention this, so we're on the same wavelength, Joe. Moxley has not been carrying the world title at all. Like, as soon as he won it, I don't think you mentioned it. At WrestleDream, when he won it, they threw it in a bag.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it's like, oh, now we haven't seen the AEW title since. Similarly, the trios titles have also not.
Well, now they're aligned again now, though, so I would assume they'll probably be defending.
But I mean, the belts themselves have not been shown also, have not been seen since before WrestleDream. So I wonder if there is some sort of hostile takeover by Blackpool Combat Club, whether there be
it could be up for interpretation, Joe. However you want to look at it. However you want to look at it can be up. Look, I'm not disagreeing with Joe, with Drew either. The one thing I will say is after last night's Dynamite, I cannot wait to see where this goes. And I felt this way about the Moxley stuff continuously throughout this, but I thought last night, especially with the Elite thing they did, very intriguing.
Yeah.
And the fact that he said the lines, if you're involved with All Elite Wrestling, you consider this, you are under attack. What does that mean? What does that mean? Because the last, and I know Scott mentioned it earlier. He mentioned it as a dig, but I don't see it as a dig. But the last time we had that type of rhetoric on this NWO type shit. Now the NWO got shitty, but the first 2 years of the NWO was arguably the best storytelling ever told in professional wrestling. Now, do I think this is going to lead to that type of level? Maybe, maybe not. But that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a group that is attacking and systematically dismantling the roster. They just took out the head with Bryan Danielson. We've seen him attack Private Party. We've seen him do all these other things. They took out all these people. This is very intriguing. It's very intriguing where this can go.
I don't think that there's a Shane McMahon involvement in this anymore.
Yeah. I don't think so either. I don't think it ever was. I think that was wrestling fans kind of creating it. We do that from time to time. I think if there is a greater power, I think it's going to be like a Josh Barnett or someone of that.
I don't know if the first couple of weeks when Moxley came back, he was talking as if there was a higher power that was controlling. But I don't know if.
Oh, what if it's?
No, see, I don't know.
What if he's trying to get back at the Elite because the Elite tried to take it from him? I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that.
Why would he wouldn't. Brian Danielson had nothing to do with that, though. So why would he want to take out Brian Danielson?
That's fair. That's fair.
That doesn't make sense. But I understand where you're going with that, Johnny.
What about this? What if Sinner says, what if this originally started because of Tony wanting to control the Elite, but Mox took it too far? Like you could do that kind of. I think it's better if Tony just isn't involved in it.
Yeah,
I do see how that could be a thing because listen, they ran a similar "we're taking over" angle. What was it? Late last year or earlier this year? Late last year, whenever they did the Tony thing. Yeah, it was because
it was earlier this year.
Earlier this year because Jack Perry came back. Yeah, because Jack Perry came back. So they did that thing where the Elite attacked Tony, and it looked like the Elite was going to be running the show, but it never really got strong legs behind it. So maybe this is just a different, I don't know. But we saw after this match, the Elite and the Young Bucks were backstage. They were asked about why they didn't do anything. They said that it wasn't any of their business. And then Daniel Garcia and Private Party come and they confront them. They said, what the hell were you guys doing out there? You didn't do anything. Jack Perry then just gets forehead to forehead with Daniel Garcia. And then Daniel Garcia, and then Jack Perry says, let's get out of here. And Daniel Garcia then goes, yeah, tell me when let me know when you're ready to help. Let me know when you're ready to help. And then he looks at Private Party and he says, hey, shit's getting crazy around here. I have your back if you have mine. And they kind of handshaked and blah, blah, blah. So, all right.
Isaiah,
I do
if
want,
you've watched Isaiah Cassidy's vlogs on his YouTube channel, him
Yeah.
and Daniel Garcia are like best friends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like watching chocolate and peanut butter. Looking at
Love
them,
it.
I've seen them on the vlogs for a long time. So
Yeah.
I've been waiting for them to get together,
100%.
like a group or something. So,
100%. And as you said,
what Sinner said about Tony, not that Tony's behind it now, but that Tony gave Moxley free range to fix the problem, and then it got out of hand. That I could see. That I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it's fair. There's just a lot of ways they can go about it, so it's really, I'm very intrigued, and I'm
maybe then, because it really feels more like Shane McMahon, if he is to be involved in anything, would be more on the Elite side when the Elite turn babyface versus this current iteration of Blackpool Combat Club.
That's fair. We have Johnny saying, if there is a higher power, anyone short of Shane or Bischoff or someone that level will crap the bed. Now, here is where I will argue. I do not think. Okay.
Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna lie.
Bischoff would be great.
Actually,
Bischoff would be great. If they could pull that off.
As much as I don't like him right now,
Bischoff could be great. Because this is NWO vibes. And Bischoff did create the NWO. So, like, Bischoff I could get behind.
I actually could get behind Bischoff, honestly.
I really could. I could get behind Bischoff being
involved. I didn't think about that before.
No, because Bischoff is also very openly anti-AEW all the time. So if Tony was to like actually be a good businessman, which he is, and go, hey, you want to make some money off this shit? I got an idea.
And then Shane McMahon's inclusion for the Elite would make even more sense
if they did it that way
because of the whole WCW thing. So
yeah, he says it has to be someone who hates the AEW product. That's fair.
Bischoff.
My thing is, though, when you say that comment about how anybody of that level, if it's anyone below that level, will crap the bed, whose fault is that, though? Because I feel like wrestling fans. So let's just throw hypotheticals out. Let's say next week on Dynamite, we find out that it's Josh Barnett, which would make sense. He's a MMA guy, wrestler, blood sport, very much of the ilk of what this group is. Would make complete sense. I feel like the majority of wrestling fans would. I don't disagree with Johnny says it would crap the bed. I think there would be a strong chance that it would. It would be a big letdown. But wrestling fans would point at AEW and they would say, you let us down. That was a bad. That was not good. That was bad. When in reality, it's the fans who created that Shane McMahon shit. I understand that Tony Khan posted a picture with him meeting with Shane McMahon. They could have been talking about anything.
Well, that wasn't Tony Khan that posted the picture.
No, but you know what I mean. There was the Bucks. But like, you know what I mean. But like, they could have been talking about anything.
That was actually an airport. That was an airport employee that took that picture.
But our wrestling fandom, being wrestling fans, we created Shane McMahon being the leader of this group in our own heads.
Yeah.
So if a month from now, it's not Shane McMahon, wrestling fans are not going to go, oh, that was probably pretty crazy of us to think that. Wrestling fans are then going to go, Tony Khan and AEW suck. This place sucks. Josh Barnett, what the hell? And it's like, that's not how things go, man. Like the fans are the ones who created this absolutely, when you look at it, ridiculous scenario that Shane McMahon would be joining AEW as a leader of this group. Could it happen? Anything can happen. It's pro wrestling. But like the fans are the ones that created this. But if they don't get what they want, those same fans are the fans that fucking shit on the companies for not doing what they wanted when you created the thing in your dumb brain. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And I've mentioned too on the show. I've said it off air, I've said it on air multiple times. In particular, when it comes to AEW, I don't like the fantasy book because they present their storylines in a very unique way. And it feels like, well, I mean, when I say this, I don't mean this to demean Tony Khan's all. I'm not saying it in a negative way, but he is kind of a fantasy booker.
Yeah.
He is. The way that he books is like
Well, yeah.
is like what a wrestling fan would fantasy.
And that's what, 100. And Johnny kind of, he says he played the AEW booking a lot of the time plays to the smart fans, and AEW's fans, the majority of them are the smart mark, the smart fans. And AEW has built themselves connecting with those fans, but those are the same fans that still create,
Like, we can't in the first 5 years, you could build the company off of smart fans. Absolutely. It
100%.
got the fans who have stuck around, those smart fans that we're talking about, are the reason why AEW is now profitable and has a bigger TV deal and is getting $90+ million more as a result of us fans that have been here since day one.
Mhm.
So
Agreed.
without, people shit on the smart fans and the IWC and all that stuff. If it weren't for the smart fans and the IWC, AEW wouldn't be in the position.
Oh, 100. Yeah, 100%. And like, again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that they do. I just know how these things work when it comes to wrestling fans, and like wrestling fans create a story. Yeah.
Having led to this point, it's definitely been smart fans that are the reason why AEW is where it is right now.
Yeah.
But as we've seen in the past year to year and a half, now they're stagnant. Now they need to build and they need to grow fans. And they're not just going to do that by playing to smart fans. So that's
100%.
where I agree with Johnny and
Yeah.
others that say you got to stop playing to smart fans. That now, 5 years in, with the stagnation that they've gotten to, with attendance, with ratings, all that shit that I really don't care about, honestly. But as a business, I understand the business has to care about that stuff. So now, 5 years in, no more playing only to smart fans.
Yeah, and they shouldn't. They should try to be building an audience and getting more than just the same fans who've been watching for 5 years. And don't get me wrong, a guy like a Shane, or I actually like the Bischoff call. I actually like the
I do
Bischoff
a lot. I actually like that a lot.
Yeah, that's how you do that. All right. We got about 10 minutes or so we got to do some quick hitters for the rest of the stuff that happened at Dynamite. Dynamite opened with Adam Cole, baby. He comes to the ring and he says, he goes, "It's been a while, but who's ready for story time with Adam Cole, baby?" He mentions the Undisputed Kingdom. He says, "First of all, love you guys, but I told you I got to do this on my own." So that was one of them. He says he could go on about his recovery and he's happy to be back and all that stuff. He goes, "But people don't want to hear that. They want to hear me talk about the worst human being I've ever met, Maxwell Jacob Friedman." He goes, "MJF will tell you that I broke a promise and destroyed his trust, and trust is an interesting word." He goes, "In friendships, without trust, you have nothing." And he goes, and Adam Cole, I'm a lot of things, but I'm not stupid." And he goes, "And if you think you should trust a guy like," he said MGF, he made a goof.
He did say MGF.
MGF. He said, "If you think you should trust a guy like MJF, you're stupid." He runs MJF down for a little bit. He calls him a phony who can't be trusted. And he says that everyone in the locker rooms agrees with me. He talks about the young guys in the locker room and how MJF is setting a bad example and how everybody hates him. And he said, sometimes you just got to fight evil with evil. So I think that's kind of the way that they're kind of getting around. I think that's the way they're getting around how the last time we saw this, MJF was the babyface and Adam Cole was the bad guy. But he said sometimes when you have to fight evil, you have to fight evil with evil. And he goes, "Max, everybody knows we're going to fight, so why not right here? Why not right now in San Jose?" We hear Max's music hit. The crowd gets pumped, but we get a video on the Tron. It's Max sitting in what looks like a study or of some sort, having a drink. He says he's learned a lot in his career so far, and Cole left a hole in him, and he'll never be able to trust again. He said the man he is today isn't his fault. It's Adam Cole's fault. He goes, so I'm leaving Cole with his own voice because you'll never get a match against MJF. And then Cole promises he'll get the match and that he'll whip MJF's ass. And that's how this opening segment ends on Dynamite. Look, you got to get around it somehow, Drew. You got to get around it somehow.
I think they did a great job.
And I feel like, fighting evil with evil and now seeing what MJF is now and Cole, it is what it is. It's, I thought they did a pretty good job getting around it, considering we're at the opposite ends of the spectrum with these two characters now that they're back. We then had that thing about, you mentioned Chris Jericho. He says that Mark Briscoe cheated at WrestleDream. So he wants a rematch and he wants it soon. Mark then responds saying that Jericho has said a lot of dumb stuff that he can let slide. But Jericho saying his brother's name in his mouth again, he needs to pay. They need to crank up the violence. And he said next week on Dynamite, rematch for the Ring of Honor Championship, ladder war. Ladder war, Drew.
Now, is a ladder war just a ladder match? Or is that like something different?
It's not. It kind of is, but it's not exactly the same. Like the ladder is, again, I'm not the biggest Ring of Honor buff, but it is a ladder match for the most part. But the ladders are used more as
a ladder war is a Ring of Honor thing.
It's like a historic Ring of Honor match.
Oh, okay.
Sami Zayn, El Generico and Kevin Steen had one of the best matches you'll ever see in a ladder war that I think you can still find on YouTube. I would go back and I would watch that. Okay. I think it's a ladder match. Like, I don't think you win by pin. I could be wrong because I'm not an avid Ring of Honor guy, but the ladders are more part of the match. Like they're used as weapon. It's just a much more, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I'll try to pull it up real quick as we continue along because I did see a good explanation of it the other day, or actually last night when it was mentioned, I saw a good explanation. So let me try.
Sinner is saying it is a ladder match.
It is. That's what I thought it is. But there's like something. Yeah, there's something different that goes to it. Hold on. Thank you.
While you're looking for that, I will just say this is where Chris Jericho is going to win, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Right. It says right here. For those who don't know what ladder war is. The match is a staple of Ring of Honor history with some of the greatest feuds being ended in this type of matchup. It is essentially just a ladder match, but the war part of it is key to Ring of Honor history. So it is just a ladder match, but it was like a feud ender. It was like their big feud ender. Like, okay. This isn't just any match. This is a ladder
Hell in the Cell.
Yeah, it was like,
okay.
Yeah. So then that leads to the next match, which was FTR versus the Learning Tree, which was Big Bill and Brian Keith. Pretty decent tag match. Big Bill still continues to be way over everywhere. But FTR wins. They hit a shatter machine on Brian Keith for the victory. La Faction Ingonable were shown backstage watching. And then post-match, we had the Outrunners make their entrance to get a pop. They were celebrating, showboating, and them and FTR did their handshake gimmick in the ring, got a nice little pop for the Outrunners.
Yeah.
All well and good.
Whatever. Yep. Shit. Moving on.
Yep. Don't you dare dismiss the Outrunners like that. Them on TV is better than them not being on TV. So don't you dare.
I don't disagree with you. I like them a lot.
That was their Dynamite debut, I believe.
To follow up WrestleDream, I don't think this was necessary.
Renee Paquette interviews the Acclaimed backstage. Daddy Ass says they're going to the gym and he goes to get the car. And then the two guys, Bowens and Caster, say that they want more and more.
Oh, I'm glad we're talking about this.
Yeah.
I want to say something.
And that was that. Not really much to the promo. They just said that they want more. And Daddy Ass went to get the car to go to the gym.
MVP.
Well, yeah, MVP shows up. Yeah. MVP and Shelton Benjamin roll up. MVP tells them that when they feel like getting serious, give them a call. And they say, no, we're good. They kind of rebuff the offer. But I like MVP getting involved with multiple people on the roster. I like it.
Max Caster.
Yeah. Could
potentially. So, I originally said that Max would be like great in the Elite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he'd be even better with MVP.
I think that could work. I really do.
he would probably not have the rap gimmick anymore. I'm assuming if he joins in with the Hurt Syndicate, he is suit wearing, furious, no rapping. That would be phenomenal, and I think that would shoot Max Caster up in superstardom.
It
Honestly,
could. It could. I would not be shocked. I would not be
under
shocked.
MVP's tutelage, absolutely.
We then have an AEW TBS championship match. Mercedes Moné defending against Queen Aminata. Queen Aminata is so good. So
She's
good.
wonderful.
I love her. I loved her in this spot. I thought this was a good match between the two. But Mercedes Moné wins by submission, retains with the statement maker, but a good match between the two. I think Queen Aminata should be rising up the ranks of the women's division in AEW, but a good match between the two there. Backstage, we had Private Party confronting the Young Bucks, demanding another title shot. Matthew Jackson admitted that he was wrong about them being a mid-card act, in that Private Party gave them one of their hardest title matches ever. He said, but yeah, that's not going to work for us, brother. That's not going to work for us, brother. And then Stokely Hathaway rolls up and he says, every time he's failed here, no one tells him he deserves another opportunity. He says they should have had him in their corner and they should just commit to breaking up if they lose another shot, because everybody knows Isaiah is a singles star anyway. Ooh.
Yeah, that was interesting to see that. I wonder what's going to happen there.
Yeah. And then Cassidy then says, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. And that leaves Mark Quinn kind of with a puzzled look on his face as we get away from that segment. So what did he mean? It was, if that's what it takes. Did he mean, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes as Stokely being in their corner? Or did he mean, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes about him being a singles guy?
Yeah.
He could have meant it for either.
It was very vague there.
Yes,
so I like
it. I like it. We have the Jack Perry promo in the back, where he says everyone needs to acknowledge that today is special, not just to them, but to the history and creation of AEW, because today is Kenny Omega's birthday. And they wanted to get him something special on his special day. And you see a nice cake that says happy birthday, Kenny Omega. And then Jack Perry dumps a pile of entrails and animal intestines and gross stuff to commemorate the intestines that he needed to remove during his diverticulitis surgery. And then Kazuchika Okada says, happy birthday, bitch. And then everyone leaves and it's just Perry. And Perry goes right close to the camera and he goes, hey, Kenny, he goes, get well or die. I don't care either way. And that's how that segment ends there. So it looks like we're getting Kenny Omega and Jack Perry. Whenever I thought they would go right to Omega and Okada.
So maybe then it's, instead of it being Jack Perry, Daniel Garcia, and Okada Omega, maybe, I mean, it doesn't make, I feel like Omega was replaced by Okada.
Yeah.
In the Elite. So I feel like it makes sense for it to be Omega and Okada. I guess they could just switch it and have Jack Perry and Kenny Omega and Okada.
I mean, I think Jack Perry would be a good return bout for Omega, like a first return thing, like on his way to the bigger match with Okada. You know what I mean?
They could do that too.
They could do something like that. I think Jack Perry's doing some of the best work of his career. Like, he's really good right now. He's killing it. We then had the in-ring AEW debut, Shelton Benjamin going one-on-one with Lio Rush. This match was a lot of fun. Lio Rush was the perfect opponent for Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin, again, getting a hero's welcome. I love how he's getting the... I don't disagree. We talked about that when we were talking about WrestleDream, but I do like how they're giving Shelton some spotlight here first, because Shelton, one of the better wrestlers in ring all time. This was a really good match between him and Lio Rush. Shelton did that spot where Lio Rush was on the corner and he just ran and jumped right up to the top corner and flipped him off. But he won with a power slam, gets a good victory over Lio Rush. Post-match MVP, is he's putting Shelton over. He says he turned Leo Rush into a statement, and he says he knows Swerve was watching and he needs to reconsider. Because if he doesn't, what happened to Leo Rush is going to happen to him. Good little thing there. We had a small little promo vignette of Darby doing skateboarding stuff with Tony Hawk. And then we come back from commercial and Swerve is backstage getting interviewed. He says that MVP and Shelton are a bunch of mids who are mad that his minimum is their max, and coming at the big dog is smart. And he said he'll fight Benjamin anywhere, anyway, and anyhow. And that's how we get a couple weeks. And then we have Tony Schiavone in the ring for a press conference, and he introduces Don Callis. Callis is flanked by Lance Archer and Brian Cage, who are new members of the Don Callis family, who I think they fit the Don Callis family very well. Don gets on the mic. He talks about making the arrangement with Jake the Snake Roberts for Lance Archer and says Brian Cage has brought gold to him. He says he realizes we need the tag titles, and Brian and Lance are going to go do that for them. He goes, but there's more good news coming. He introduces Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita. Takeshita cuts a promo in Japanese, but then he translates and he says he's going to defend the international championship all around the world. And if you want the belt, come and take it. And then Kyle Fletcher says that he's upset that everybody wants to talk about Will Ospreay when the Don Callis family is having their biggest night in their history. And he goes, you people want to know why I did what I did? Too bad. And then Callis, he says, this is over. This crowd is being too disrespectful. They're making too much noise. Let's get the hell out of here. And that's how this ends. So, like, not a ton of stuff here, but a good little thing for the.
Yeah.
They're looking strong. They're looking strong. The Callis family.
Kyle is going to be a very good heel. You can tell.
Agreed.
And I love Takeshita's voice.
I do too.
Is so it sounds so strong and stoic. Yep. I can listen to him talk all day. Honestly.
Agreed. Mariah May is then backstage. She demands competition. She goes, because everyone here is afraid of me. And then she made the little dig about the press conference, which was nice. And then we see Anna Jay pop out. She goes right in Mariah May's face. They need to get separated by Christopher Daniels. He tries to get between them. Anna Jay then goes to hit Mariah May. Mariah ducks, and Daniels gets it right in the face. And the segment kind of ends with Anna Jay apologizing to Christopher Daniels. We then have an interview with Ricochet, who is backstage with Renee Paquette. He gives credit to where credit's due. He says he doesn't remember being ever hit as hard as Takeshita hit him. But despite what Don Callis says, Takeshita didn't beat him and Will Ospreay on the same night. He beat Will. Ricochet said he's here to become champion, and Takeshita has cheated him out of that twice, while Ricochet, which is technically not true, but he said he was undefeated still. That's not true. You lost the match. You have a loss on you. But he did say he was undefeated. Maybe not pinned, but he's not undefeated. That's factually incorrect.
Well, semantics.
Yeah. He says Takeshita's the best in the world, but where he comes from, you prove that with your matches, not your words. And he's ready to show the entire AEW world why he is out of this world on Collision. I thought this was a good promo for Ricochet.
He killed it in this promo.
Yeah.
He was really
Looks
good.
like the guy might actually be able to talk if you give him the fucking chance to, huh? Unbelievable.
Imagine
Who'd
that.
have thought?
Imagine that. Also, he will be facing AR Fox on Collision.
Which is very good. They have a history. Lucha Underground.
Right?
Those two men. They have a history. And I think in Fox's challenge, he said, you and I go way back. Lucha Underground is part of that. AR Fox, listen, he kind of got shunned a little bit and in trouble, and we don't see him a ton, but AR Fox is very good.
He needs to come back and be a more prominent figure somewhere on the shows, because he's phenomenal.
Yep. We then get a thing out back that shows Jon Moxley and the BCC beating up some more of the guys from earlier as they are leaving the arena. Evil Uno cuts a very heated promo.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, Dark Order's been here since day one, and Saturday, Wednesday, the parking lot, Dark Order will give Blackpool Combat Club a fight. And then Top Flight cut a very similar promo right after this.
What particularly I loved about this, they were both really heated and awesome,
Mhm.
but the shoving of the camera that Uno did, he's facing him and he's talking, and then he pushes the camera and
And it's
just goes
into
right to
top
Dante
flight.
Martin.
Yeah.
And then their heated promo. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that looked awesome. I love
Yeah.
that.
I like it. I like it. Could get an 8-man tag. You could do Dark Order and Top Flight versus Moxley, Claudio, Wheeler, and Pac. We could get that on a show. I think that would be a fun little 8-man. But then we get right here. We are at our main event. It is Switchblade. Yeah, Johnny Hunt. Yeah. John Silver chasing the truck. That was good shit. That was good shit. I love John Silver. Hilarious. I would like to see the Dark Order as a whole on TV more, because I do still think they have a lot to offer. Uno's good, man. He can cut those promos. He's good in the ring. John Silver is hilarious. He got a comedy thing. Reynolds is no. I think those guys should be on TV more. They have been there since day one. There is a history with us when it comes to Brody and Hangman. Like, they should be on the TV more.
There must be a reason that they're getting involved in this right now, so they must be getting on TV more.
I hope so.
Which is good, because I do like them too. I agree they should be on TV more.
I agree. All right, we have the main event. It is Christian Cage going up against Switchblade Jay White. This was a good one. This was a good one between these two. Back and forth. Christian kind of taking some advantage, couple eye pokes, things of that nature. But towards the end of this match, Drew. So we see Kip Sabian come out at one point, because he's been doing something with Christian here. So Kip Sabian comes out, and then the referee, who is Bryce Remsburg for this match, he sees Kip Sabian, and he becomes occupied with Kip Sabian. And then we see Hangman Adam Page come out from underneath the ring, and that famous that picture that's circling of him just laying there straight on. Hilarious. This guy can do no wrong for me. I love this man. He comes out from under the ring. He hits a buckshot right as Jay White had the Blade Runner lined up.
He did not get to hit at WrestleDream.
Correct. Jay White was queued up, ready to hit the Blade Runner on Christian, and Hangman comes in. He hits the buckshot, and then Christian just falls into the cover. Remsburg gets back in the ring. 1, 2, 3. Christian Cage gets the victory over Switchblade. So it looks like
I really
like
Bryce Remsburg a lot. He's actually one of my favorite referees right now, because his reactions to certain things I enjoy. Like when a heel attacks a babyface behind his back, and then he turns around and the guy's just on the floor, and there's just a cover, and he's just like, what? Something just happened here, didn't it? But I didn't see it, so I can't, he's very logical with it.
Yeah.
The way that he reacts is like, oh, something definitely happened here, but I don't have any proof that it happened, so I have to make the call. So I really like his style of refereeing a lot.
I do. He's very good. And I thought he was really good at the end of this match with his timing and kind of getting preoccupied and then kind of not seeing everything that happened. And Dynamite goes off the air with Christian Cage holding his contract high over his head. So he's still standing tall, as we do know he does. I don't know if he's going to want to cash it on Jon Moxley at any point. But he does still have the contract. He is arguably next in line to become AEW World Heavyweight Champion. And it looked like, Jay White got that huge victory at WrestleDream over Hangman, but it looks like we are going to be continuing along with Hangman and Jay White. And he gets the loss here, but I think the way it went down, it works for the story. This was a good week for AEW. Dynamite pay-per-view and a really, really good Dynamite. So, oh my God, Johnny, the facial, everything that Hangman does is just perfect. It's perfect. But I thought it was a really, really strong week for AEW. Hopefully they continue the momentum. They got some good stories they're telling right here. I'm very intrigued by a lot of the stuff. And that's going to be it for us today here. I know we went a little bit over today, but there was a lot to talk about, Drew. Yeah. Let the people know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and then we are going to get up on out of here.
All right. You can follow me at Drew Nicholas on Twitter. You can find me on Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. You can find me on the AEW Collision post show for Fightful, collecting the super chats and the humper chats. Join us on Saturday nights. It's a fun time. And follow Firmly LW
LW.
for our whole Firmly brand here on Love Wrestling.
Wow, look at this, huh? Look at Johnny putting us over, dude. Putting us over, dude. I appreciate that. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate everybody in the chat today. Bonkers, Asian Joe, Scott,
Sinner and a boss.
Sinner. We had Christy earlier. We had Ophelia, as always. Like, good show today. You guys are really showing up in the chat these last few weeks, and we're having real good banter. So the more you guys are here and the more you guys want to hear me and Drew talking about this stuff, that's what we're going to do. But thank you, everybody, for being in the chat. You can follow me, JPJ Loves Gaming, on all social media platforms. Tonight, 8 p.m., we're talking women's PWI 250 with Kristen Ashley and Mr. Warren Hayes. They are both on the panel that helped come up with that list. So we're going to be talking that with them tonight, plus some AEW WrestleDream a little bit more here, Pluggo's side of things and stuff like that. You guys know the drill here. You guys are always good in the chat. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, 10 a.m., me and this guy, Drew, talking WWE and AEW. Appreciate you all. Have a good rest of your Thursday. And y'all know the drill. Until next time, peace out.